The University of South Florida is ready for their power invite. These Bulls, they have staying power. Their football team is ranked 18th in the country. As of this recording, are the only Group of 5 school in the top 25. Crews are working around the clock to build their on-campus stadium. USF is the most aligned institution I have ever studied. From the board chair and vice chair, to the outgoing and incoming presidents, to the CEO of athletics, to the head coaches, the student athletes, and to the Tampa Bay region, which I'm recording this from. Rob Higgins was my prediction in June to be the next athletic director of the Bulls. It made too much sense for it to not be Higgins. He was a ball boy for the Bulls at age 8. He graduated from USF. He's in the School of Advertising's Hall of Fame. He met his wife there. He started his career in athletics there. He received an award and gave a speech at this past spring's 2025 commencement. And for the last 20 years, he's been bringing big sporting events to the Tampa Bay area as the executive director of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. And now, Higgins is the CEO of athletics, leading USF into the uncertain world of college athletics and unapologetically working towards becoming the next power conference school. This is Higher Ed Athletics, presented by Pilotics. Welcome to Higher Ed Athletics. Today I'm joined by Rob Higgins, the new CEO of Athletics. Rob, thanks for being on Higher Ed Athletics.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Well, so you're not that far into this role, but what's it like coming home to USF?
It's been incredible, the outpouring of support for our family, seeing so many familiar faces that I knew 21 years ago and even earlier throughout my first time here, to then meeting so many awesome people that have just genuinely welcomed us with open arms. It has been fantastic every step of the way and really enjoying it.
Yeah, so it wasn't a press conference. I think it was press conference, and we can't say what's the other. We can't say potential.
Yeah, we cannot. It's a family podcast, so we won't say what precedes potential, but it is. We do not talk about potential around.
Yeah, and I've been coming here for years on vacation. That's why we're here today. And I think in the past would have used the word potential, but I would say it's arrived.
We have
now be able to see quite literally a stadium coming out of the ground that I know Michael Kelly and a lot of people had worked on, and now you're able to kind of like oversee that too. And the directions just seems like everything's going well. And so when you officially started October 1st, right?
Started October 1st. I got the job, or got announced probably 2 weeks earlier, and I was in the build. I think it got announced at noon, and I was in the building at 5:30 that day and was in there every night after, but then officially got started. I want to make sure we wrap up everything well. The Sports Commission officially got started here October 1st.
Yeah, and people watching this on YouTube can see some of the items in the background, and then maybe I'll take some footage when we leave of just this office. It's really cool and kind of ties in your USF ties. For those that aren't aware, I mean, you're an alum. I think what's also interesting is you're in the Hall of Fame for is it the School of Advertising?
I am, the Zimmerman School of Advertising. When I probably got inducted 10 years ago, and they called me and said, congratulations, we want to induct you into the Zimmerman School of Advertising. I said, that's amazing. I really appreciate the honor, but I didn't go to the School of Advertising. And they said, wait, no, it's now called, it used to be Mass Communications, and now it's called the School of Advertising. So I was a mass comm major. Now I sound a lot smarter because I'm a proud graduate and Hall of Famer in the Zimmerman School of Advertising.
Well, that's awesome. Well, so you've been known and really around the Tampa area as being the leader of the Sports Commission. So, in that role, I mean, a lot of people that listen to this or watch this, maybe they don't even understand because there's not time. I mean, I think every state and major city has one, but can you kind of maybe explain your career over the last 20 years of what that day-to-day and that big picture stuff was like in that type of role?
Sure. Well, it actually preceded my time at the Sports Commission, dated back to when I was at USF. I was helping manage their facilities and events, and I was always on the expense side of the budget. And one of the ways as a young administrator that people tell you that you can continue to grow your profile and continue to increase your professional development is to be able to generate revenue. So I try to think about a way to strategically do that. And one of the ways you can do that is by bidding on and hosting NCAA championship events, because the school, if you're the host institution, receives an honorarium from the NCAA. So we started bidding on NCAA championships at the time. We bid on the state's first ever women's Final Four and got it. And we hosted the 2003 NCAA men's first and second rounds, and it went really well. So then when there was an opening at the sports commission, it only made sense because I was already doing that just with a different organization. Then for 21 years, I had the honor of promoting our community to the world with events of all shapes and sizes, usually around 100 to 120 events a year. Some of the more notable ones are Super Bowls and college championships like the College Football Playoff National Championship or Women's Final Fours, which I mentioned, or Frozen Fours, NCAA Volleyball Championships, and many other events. When I first started in the role, there was 100 sports commissions. By the time I finished, there was over 650. And I think a lot of communities around the country saw the return on investment in terms of being really aggressive about it.
Yeah, like so I'm familiar with like the Indiana Sports Corp and what they do. Is it similar to that type of that role here?
It is. It is. So it's a group that's dedicated towards bidding on events, hosting them, and then trying to do a good job with them to then get them back. So everything we did was really from a long-term perspective. We didn't want to do things to do them just one time. And then now, with the shift over to this role, we think these two organizations between the Sports Commission and USF will just continue to grow closer and find different ways for 1+1 to equal 3.
What an interesting tie back to you were here when you went there, and now you're here, and you can kind of collaborate even more together. But I mean, the Tampa area, so it's a big region. I don't think people maybe understand because we think of like the other cities in Florida or the other universities in Florida, but by being here, as a vacation person in the beaches, I don't think people realize how big it is, and maybe that might be maybe why that surprises them of some events you've gotten. But what are maybe like three of your top events to put you on the spot of like,
Oh, it's hard
obviously,
to.
I think we know one will be a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would say it's really hard to pick. So I don't ever like get in the business of picking, but I'll humor you based off the question. Is
Or maybe
back when
more
we
than
hosted.
unique at least.
Well, I would say every event has its own story. When we hosted our fifth Super Bowl, about a year out from it, was when COVID broke out, and we found ourselves in the middle of a global pandemic, and we're planning what we thought was going to be our fifth Super Bowl, but it felt like planning five Super Bowls at one time because, from a health and safety standpoint, you had to contingency plan at a really high level. And lo and behold, we're doing it from our kitchen tables and boxers and blazers. And it was just a wild scene. But then as it continued to unfold, to have Tom Brady as our quarterback, to be the first ever team to win the Super Bowl at home, for it to all go off without a hitch from a health and safety standpoint. There just was a lot that went into that event that made it really special. But then getting our first ever Frozen Four, the event had never been to the Southeast in its 64-year history before that. And then to host it three times in 2012, 2016, and 2023, coming off our record fourth NCAA Women's Final Four this past April. I mean, there was just so many different things. I mean, Savannah Bananas three times, which brings a smile to people's faces, to WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. Just so many different ways that our community has continued to benefit, and it's only going to grow stronger as things progress.
Yeah, one of the things I talk about on this show a lot is political IQ of a place and a location, and how important it is. I've had athletic directors tell me on and off air how important it is, and I think everybody understands it is. In that type of role, I imagine you're really having to interact with so many different types of officials, like elected officials and business people. But maybe just speak to like how you think that like is political IQ something you would say that you have to succeed in this new job and then also in your old job?
I think it is important. Would I put it at the absolute top of the list in terms of the skill sets that I think are really transferable from one to the next? Probably not. I mean, I look at it, everything we do starts with student athlete experience. That in my old role, I mean, that was why we were so successful in terms of recruiting events there, is because we curated a national championship student athlete experience that we felt like is second to none. And I know that's going to continue on. So we want to now provide that on an ongoing basis here. So then when you go from that, you go to revenue generation and sponsorship and ticket sales, fundraising, marketing, you name it, relationships across the college landscape, and being able to procure all of these events and then get them back. There's a lot of skill sets that are really transferable. Political IQ is definitely one of them. We were a private public partnership of sorts, where we received some public funding through our hotel bed tax.
Okay.
So we were always working hand in hand with local officials. We were working with the city in terms of city services. We were working with the state with state funding, but then also doing a lot of the revenue generation things that again will serve us really well from this role. So a lot of different aspects. I think that's long story short, why we all felt like from a leadership perspective that this is no longer an athletic director role. It's really a CEO role.
Yeah. You talked about in your introductory speech was win the building, then campus, then community, then country. Part of what you just said sounds like that's kind of the focus there too. How do you explain that to people listening?
Yeah, I think it's an episodic approach. We really want to be diligent about making sure every one of our staff members here is fully bought into what we are about to achieve, not only on the field, but and on the court, but in the classroom and everywhere else. We have 400 full-time and part-time team members, and it's really important that 100% of everybody believes in the vision and the culture of what we're accomplishing. I don't think you can take a shortcut here, because when you take a shortcut, it's going to be really hard to fool people, and it's not something that we want to do. So when I say it's an episodic approach, we really are going to focus here. I don't know whether it's going to take 2 weeks. I don't know whether it's going to take 2 months. I don't know whether it'll take it a year, but it's going to be to make sure that we have all 400 team members pulling in the right direction, and really all making sure that they buy into what we're going to accomplish. Then once that happens, we're going to move on to campus. Now, there's certainly things we can do on a parallel path with both, but this campus has continued to pour into our athletic department in a variety of different ways, and we want to pour back into campus and make it sure there's a lot of reciprocity around that, and we're giving back to campus more than it's giving to us. Then from a third standpoint, we have a really special community here with Team Tampa Bay, which we touched on. It's the largest media market in the state of Florida, second largest in the Southeast. So many great individuals and organizations that support our community that we want to activate around 400,000 living alumni, many of which live right here, that we will make sure that we engage at a high level. And then once we do that, we feel like we deserve to be on the national stage. Again, there are things we can do with each, but the focus is going to be making sure that we do not take shortcuts and we do not skip a step here. Because when we have skipped a step over these last 4 decades that I've been on the planet, it's really showed, and you're not going to fool anybody in the community until they know your campus is bought in. You're not going to fool anybody on campus until you know your building is bought in. There can be no cracks.
Yeah. Well, and I know you've been I Coach Hannes from baseball. I was out at practice today because him and I work together in Indiana State. Your softball coach comes up, and so I get introduced to him. He's been here forever, really successful, and he said you were out there talking to his team this morning, and so I feel like that winning the building is already kind of happening from me walking around here this morning. Another thing about that is what I appreciated is you talked about this letter in your that you gave back to a coach from whenever you were a ball boy, growing like as a little kid. I think you were like 8, right? Or
Yeah, I was 8 years
eight
old.
years old.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that you. It seems like you have an appreciation for every role that happens in this department because of that experience, most likely. I was a janitor in college, and I had some people who would treat me horribly,
Hmm.
and I had other people that treated me like I was the most important person there to keep it clean. And
Hmm.
I just think that mentality when you said that, that's real stuff. And I like that you gave the letter back to the coach too, and so I just think the winning the building, and then campus. And I just feel like you're gonna have nothing's easy, but I feel like you all are gonna have a lot of authenticity of getting those four things. And then speaking of then the country, I mean your football team is
Hmm.
I don't know what the ranking is right now, like
18,
18.
18,
Okay.
but who's counting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so and I believe if the playoffs started today, they would be in the playoff because of the
I'm not going to address
yeah,
that
not
because
gonna
Coach Golish would have
yeah.
a field day with me. He
Well,
wants me to just focus on Saturday against Memphis. So
fair enough.
that's
And
the
I'm
key.
excited about that. And but I just feel like the football program has staying power.
Oh yeah.
And that's what's exciting about it. I mean, I feel like watching your quarterback just truck over people is
Yeah.
pretty awesome to watch. But I want to talk about the stadium. Right now, everyone I think in college athletics is aware that you all are building a stadium like right over here on campus, and I'm so excited about that. Um, what is exciting is I saw on Twitter how many people you all had. Maybe you can speak to the recent game, and then also about why I saw a video of you on the mechanical bull. But just maybe what that game
My neck's a
atmosphere
little
was. Just
sore from that
well,
still.
because
So,
Raymond James isn't an easy get to right now.
yeah,
Like
it's about
it's
25 minutes away.
yeah, and so just maybe speak to like how many people were there and then what that environment was like because it was impressive to be able to witness that.
Yeah, we had 45,000 there. It was one of our top five homecoming crowds of all time. It was the biggest homecoming crowd we've had in 16 years. I think that obviously speaks volumes to just how passionate everyone is about Coach Golish and his this year's team and how well they're doing. But at the same time, I think there's just so much energy and momentum around the school as a whole right now. So many great things happening. It starts at the top in terms of our board of trustees and the alignment we have with Chair Will Weatherford and Vice Chair Mike Griffin, our President Law, who has done an incredible job and is a bull through and through. There just is a lot of people that all right now are rallying around this brand. And for us, it's just so exciting to be able to have this happening. Yes, I did ride the mechanical bull. I went and visited with student government last week, and they put on a tailgate and they asked me if I would do it. And I said, absolutely. And they delivered 11,000 students to our football game. So if they're going to bring that many students out and make sure that they're spreading the gospel of USF athletics and USF football to campus, I'll ride a mechanical bull. I will eat a mechanical bull. I'll do whatever. They'll run through a wall. You name it. It's whatever it takes to make sure that we're providing the best atmosphere and environment for our student athletes as we can.
Yeah, I have noticed there's also a lot of bulls around here on
Yeah.
campus, but so that's been kind of cool. I was like, there's just so many bull statues out here. But about the new stadium, what will that look like? So we can have renderings, but I mean, are there any updates on like timeline, big picture timeline. And then once it's there, I mean, what kind of opportunities, I'm sure thinking from your other career at the sports commission, like what opportunities does this new stadium bring, even other than football?
Absolutely. So I'll hit on the first part of your question is um, our school has long fought the perception of being a commuter school.
Hmm.
And then to have the opportunity to start football and then play it in an NFL building has been incredible. And it's ratcheted up the enthusiasm as a university. But we've always lacked our own home. I mean, from a revenue generation standpoint, it's one thing, but then from just galvanizing our university and having this game changer for us from a pride, from a sentiment standpoint, from all of those different things. This will be the heart and soul of our campus. So to finally have it with all the pent up demand that there's been has been incredible. And then on a parallel path for it to take place while our football program continues to rise has been incredible. It's 35,000 seats. It'll be done in 23 months' time in September of 2027. There's hundreds of people working on it basically around the clock. When I can't hear the banging of the steel here when they've stopped at night, it still happens in my head. So there's progress always happening around the clock. To get back to your question related to how it will help open up other opportunities for our community, right now, there's a huge gap in between the portfolio of venues. You basically have a stadium like Corbett Stadium right outside my office, which is probably 2,500 seats. And then you have Raymond James Stadium at 65,000 seats. So if you have events that fall right in the middle, you're either going to turn away 30,000 people or you're going to have 30,000 empty seats. So it really unlocks a tremendous amount of different economic opportunities for our community, a wide array of different events. So to have it have become this great game changer, not only for campus, but for our overall community is something that I know everybody throughout Team Tampa Bay is really pumped about.
Yeah, and I know that's a big talk in Indianapolis is anytime a new venue comes up is, okay, we have this size venue, we need this size venue. IU Indianapolis is getting a basketball arena right now, and there's a reason why it's going to hold the amount of people it is because it's not just for basketball, but for the other events the city can have there. And so we're thinking concerts and maybe WrestleMania would probably still have to be at Raymond James Stadium, I'm guessing.
That one would still have to be there, but there'd be plenty of other opportunities from concerts to soccer to non-traditional events too.
Any concern that you just had 45,000 people and now you only have 35,000 capacity, you're going to have people knocking on the door to get in.
Hey, demand is not a bad thing, and I know that it's just going to be one of those. It's going to be one of the toughest tickets in town, and it's going to be the place to be. So it's all the more reason to get in early and make sure you carve out your spot.
Now, what season are you expecting will they be able to kick off?
2027, so it's literally after next season. We'll be in the building. I'll tell you two quick story is last Friday for homecoming, we brought home several of our former football legends that came back to community, which was incredible. It was great to see them all from all different areas, from our eras, from our very first recruit to some of the other people that played on that first team to some of the people that have been just incredible all-stars and game changers, like I mentioned before, throughout the entire tenure of USF football. And they brought back some of their favorite memorabilia, and we had them put it in a time capsule that'll be in the player walk, the tunnel out to the field, and it's buried there. So to have these awesome forever Bulls that help lay the foundation of USF football to then literally be a part of the foundation of the on-campus stadium that we've all dreamed about is phenomenal.
Yeah, I saw that video too. I was like, what a great idea and how cool that is to tie everyone together.
Yeah.
So thinking about another thing that might be part about this is I'm sure with a new stadium, and we're starting to see corporate partnerships and sponsorships come up. Are you all thinking about stadium naming rights, field naming rights, and then also maybe your thoughts, since it's the same topic, is the future of maybe sponsorship patches on uniforms? That type of world, you really have to be careful about who you choose, but it really is a huge economic gain for an athletic department that could use it right now across the country. So I'm guessing that's going to be part of the stadium. Then maybe your thoughts also on approach in preparation that might be something you can put on uniforms too.
Absolutely. If it's a revenue opportunity right now, we're thinking about it, we're working on it, and we're probably going to strongly consider it or execute it. So we have an entire team across a variety of different aspects, whether it be our Bulls Club with fundraising, to our sponsorship, to our ticket sales, to our true NIL folks. We want to make sure everybody is working together on these opportunities. So we have already started a cadence of meetings to be able to make sure we're maximizing revenue from a variety of different standpoints, from the stadium and stadium naming rights to a lot of the different other opportunities that exist within it, to the jersey patch possibility that could come down in January, to just about any other piece of real estate that we can help provide value to a brand or an individual that wants to be able to work with us and partner with us. When you have 400,000 living alumni, like I mentioned, when you have an enrollment of 50,000, and you have as much momentum as we have, there's no better time to partner with USF Athletics than right now. And it's our job to make sure that we uncover all those different opportunities and provide the biggest return on investment as possible.
Yeah, and I think it was your board chair said uh, skate where the puck is going is kind of
Mhm.
your all's approach as a university. And I think that's been very evident. I also don't think people realize how big USF is until you just said that. It is a large campus. It's a large student body. We also talked about it's in a large city and region. And so, you know, I'm just gonna say it, future P4. I told you before we recorded, it's always been one of two schools in the last like
Mhm.
5 years that I've always thought would be ready. And it seems like everything's kind of come together with your approach of that. Now you did do a 10-hour presentation for this job, is what you had said. I think
It was broken in. It was 10 hours of
yeah.
presentations. But it was awesome. 80 slides overall, and to have the opportunity to visit with Will Weatherford, our chair, and Mike Griffin, our vice chair, and Jay Stroman, who leads our foundation, and then president of law. We boiled it down really to two different presentations. One was more of an introductory level. I'd call it the 1.0 version of here's where the college landscape is right now. Here's how USF fits into that ecosystem. Here are the things that we can do to improve that positioning and make sure that we're taking advantage of this dynamic landscape and make sure that everybody understood that we would find comfort and opportunity in the chaos of it all. And then the 2.0 was really going back to what we discussed in terms of winning the building, then winning campus, then winning the community, and winning the country. There's obviously a lot that goes into it. We have culture non-negotiables. We have a specific system that we bring to the table to really professionalize and modernize the department. So really, it was our overall playbook or game plan as to why we felt like we're the right group at the right time to then be able to uh, get this place to the stage that it deserves to be on.
Yeah, and I've had presidents on here, I've had ADs, and I always talk about alignment. And the alignment does seem special here, and I think that's something that you have to have going through with this. And to kind of go back to that 10 hours, kind of joke about that, but you also were able to do a 10-minute presentation to pitch the NFL for a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
And if I try to pull out there's certain things that is a tactical advice for the person watching or listening. And so two of them come up with that. The first one is about being an effective communicator. So any advice for viewers that maybe they have a lot to say, but they need to find a way to concise it? I mean,
Right.
how do you go in and pitch that big project of an NFL Super Bowl in 10 minutes? Because I've heard it's like a 10-minute window before from other people. But maybe just like how do you kind of tie all that together and understand what the focus of the presentation is and deliver it?
Well, it's about knowing your audience. And when you're in front of 32 NFL owners who are all billionaires and some of the most affluent people and busy people on the planet, if I rolled in there with a 10-hour presentation, I would lose them 20 minutes in. So I think it's about knowing who your audience is, what their passion points are, what they would be looking for in a partnership, and making sure you're addressing those in a really succinct and efficient manner and sometimes entertaining manner too, is part of it. And then I think it's making sure as you know your audience, what they're looking for in terms of timing, the way they want to be communicated with, the formality or informality is part of it. And I think that's one thing that we've always I say it humbly, but have tried to do well is know who your audience is. And it's everything from if you get caught in an elevator with somebody and you have that elevator speech, you got 30 seconds, you better get to your point pretty quick and you better communicate it really efficiently and effectively to then the 10-minute scenario or the 10-hour scenario. When you have 10 hours, you could bet there's a significant level of detail that can
Yeah.
be involved as part of it. I generally try to start at the punch when I'm creating any sort of presentation. I start with the punchline from a creation standpoint, and then I work my way. We'll work our way all the way backward and see how you fulfill almost the dash from start to finish. I will tell you too. Just one tip is those. I would say the two varying presentations I did as part of this process, they were probably separated by 3 months' time.
Oh, wow.
I created the second presentation within a week of the first, and then I just edited it for those 3 months. So it's almost like you always know your boilerplate story, but then with how dynamic college athletics is, how things change. Yeah, how things change by the day, the hour, whatever it may be. I would just capture those edits. And then as we circled for a few months, can bring the plane in for a landing as part of a final pitch.
Yeah, the other thing about communication that I liked was here's that word press conference. It wasn't a press conference because, for one, you weren't sitting at a table whenever you did your introductory speech. That whole presentation that your department and institution put on was awesome, and I'll probably have to link it so that people can watch that too. But just focusing on the end of it was your maybe 20 or 30 minute speech that maybe take us into the mindset of when you're writing that speech. It's basically your introduction to a community that's there to celebrate the future of the Bulls and to celebrate you, which everybody in the crowd seemed to have known you from your many roles and your ties to USF. But for one, I know you have some people can't speak off a prompter. Like, I love to public speak. I do it as much as I can. I think you did an awesome job of being up there with just a mic on a stage. Like, you weren't at the podium.
Right.
But maybe, like, for one, people that become ADs, I don't know how much they think about that first statement of that first speech that they get in front of people. And, I watch, like, every AD hire I watch, and they're usually sitting at a podium or sitting at a table and just answering questions. But you really delivered like a really good speech. So maybe
Thank you.
Going into just that thought process of, I know you all didn't want it to be boring, but maybe talk us about what went into preparing that.
Well, I think in general, we wanted to set the tone right out of the gate that it was a new era, new chapter, and a new way to think about things and do things here, and a new level at which we're gonna operate. So, for me, the advice I would share with anybody is to speak from the heart and speak fearless. You get hired for a reason. It's because you're uniquely you. You're one of one, and the way to capture that is not by giving some standard traditional boilerplate speech that everybody's heard 100 times from a podium. So that's not me. I wouldn't want to have done it like that by any means. But I just wanted to make sure that I was transparent as possible. I'm not going to be scared to lay out expectations. I'm not going to be scared to share some of the limitations that we've dealt with in the past when it comes to the university. And then also, more so than pointing out problems, we want to make sure that we're proactively sharing solutions and how we're going to make sure we take things to an all new level. So I think, just again, being as transparent as possible, as authentic as possible, doing what's uniquely you is the best thing and what I think the world wants in general.
Do you think the future of your prior role, like with your expertise in that background, do you think that we're going to start seeing more people with that background at like a sports commission be considered for these kind of CEO of athletics type jobs in the future, primarily at a school like USF, where it's not a 200-year-old school, but it's not brand new.
Right.
You all have a really vast number of living alumni, but in these types of cities, like, we're thinking, I know you can't speak to the Charlotte job, but the Charlotte job, if people are watching this, is going to become open. That is a city that I think about of, like, my first instinct now is looking for a sports commission, because it really does seem like if you're trying to grow the city and you're trying to grow the campus, that seems like a good place to start. And then you kind of laid out your background. The skill set, you talked about the transferability. What do you think about the future of that position, of maybe jumping into college athletics with the way the world's changing?
I could see that being the case. There is a lot of transferable skills. I mentioned some of them, like revenue generation and fundraising and marketing and tickets, and curating the student athlete experience and so much more, as well as their relationships. So I definitely could see, I think universities are going to continue to start to think outside of the box. The traditional athletic director role of 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, if that's what you're going to commit to, then you could end up getting left behind. Now, with that being said, I will tell you some of the best CEOs that I know across the entire country right now are named athletic directors. I mean, they're doing
Yeah.
all of these different things at a really high level, and I have so much respect for them. They're some of my closest friends. So there's so many folks right now that are just incredible CEOs that are already in the role. But as people and decision makers start to think about openings that they have, I could see them looking a variety of different ways, from pro sports, like you've seen at the University of Maryland, to some of the other non-traditional Fortune 500 execs.
Stanford.
Exactly.
Also close ties to the institution, but
Correct. So I think you're gonna see a lot of different potential solutions as part of this, as creativity becomes at a premium of all that needs to take place within the world of college athletics on a campus here.
yeah, and I think maybe it's not necessarily the sports commission role, but it's looking in your own backyard of like, okay, who is doing something where we think the puck is going that could fit this. And as we kind of wrap, one thing that early on in my podcast, I was working at IU Athletics, and Fred Glass was our athletic director, and so he was brought in at a moment in time for where athletics needed to head, and he had been a political background. And he came in there. Everybody kind of thought it was he was an IU alum, but he changed like every facility. He was a builder, and coming from local government for the city, and it worked out there. I've seen it at a couple other places where the person has ties to the university, but I think it's just as equally important ties to the community they're trying to serve. And you probably hadn't seen this, but back in June, I think it was June 12th, I did a video previewing what I thought about the search of USF. And I don't usually do a prediction of a person, but I predicted you.
Oh wow!
And because
Yeah,
I'd done a lot of homework on the thing, and it just seemed like such a slam dunk. And so whenever you got announced, I got like 10 people message me, how'd you know there? It's like, and I told them, I was like, I think at some point some things just make so much sense that you can't, like, obviously they did their due diligence. I think they said you're the first person they spoke to and the last, and they did a national search. But I was just so happy to see that it worked out, because like I said, I vacation here every year. I come to this campus every year. I love the iron gates on the outside with the bowls built into
Sure.
the details of it. And so I was really excited for you. And as someone that, I pride myself on loving my city of Indianapolis and working in Indianapolis in the sports world, I see a lot of that same type of mentality in Tampa. I'm really excited for the future of the Bulls. And so I just want to thank you for agreeing to have me, host me, and be on Higher Ed Athletics.
Of course. Well, thank you for predicting the fact that I would wind up in this chair. So it means a lot to have your support throughout, and really enjoyed the conversation today.